Hey y'all, we're back. Welcome back to Tales from the Table Studios. It has been a couple of days, but man, it's felt like longer than a week since we've been here for an episode of a Crumbling Foundation, and we are so excited tonight. We had some tech issues that slowed us down a bit, but we're here, and most of us, and we're ready, and we're excited, and it's going to be a real good time. Hi, I'm Lion. I run Tales from the Table Studios. If you enjoy what you see here tonight, there are a couple ways that you can go about supporting us that we would really appreciate. You can send us a follow or subscribe here. We also have a Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi is linked down below. You can check that out. We have a bunch of really cool stuff, different membership tiers, and at different tiers you get access to different things, including naming rights for NPCs and locations. Things like backstage shows where once a month for every show that we run, we sit down with our cast and talk about why things happened, what cool stuff they're looking forward to, how they're feeling about stuff. It's a really good time and a great opportunity to see behind the veil and see what all of these amazing people are thinking. We'll actually be recording tonight for the next session of them, so that's really, really cool. Also, at the highest tier, we will do a raffle once a month where we pick someone and then create a custom character for you to your liking. You tell us what system you want them in, and if we don't know it, we'll learn it, and then we'll figure it out and put that together for you. We'll help write up a backstory, any important NPCs, anything else you need done in order to run, play, write the character however you would like. And the coolest part, in my opinion, is that it comes with completely finished, amazing art from our in-house artist, Miss Moon. So check that out. Link should be down below. Second, if you want to have more face to face, or not face to face, I guess, but what like interactions with these amazing people or anyone else in our incredible community, you can do that because we have Discord. You can go check out our Discord. The link should also be down below. Give it a click, join up with us, grab some rolls, say hi. If any of us aren't there at the time, we will show up at some point. We're all active. We all love to talk. And there are some amazing creative minds, fantastic people, passionate souls in that community. Come be a part of it. We're always happy to have you. We're also working on organizing some community events, but that will not be happening until probably April because in March, and for the entire time working up to it, we are prepping for Days of Tales 2 Eclectic Boogaloo. We're going to be running 36 hours over a weekend of actual plays, panels, giveaways, and more cool stuff. So that's going to be running March 24th through the 26th, raising money for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. If you're interested in taking part, we still have our casting call open for one more week. It will close next Monday, but we're looking for GMs. We're looking for players, people who might be interested in being on panels, people who are interested in working with us for giveaways, people who are interested in doing anything at all. Click the link. It should be dropping in chat. There it is. Go check it out. Join up with us. We will let you know in the next coming couple of weeks after casting closes, but we're going to find seats and opportunities for everyone that we can. So, really excited for that. And then in March, like I said, we're going to run the event. We're going to be raising money for NAMI, and it's going to be amazing. All right. With that said, we have a YouTube. If you're interested in catching up on any of our series or checking out our one-shots, you can do that over on our YouTube, which is down below as well. I'm like 90% sure, and if not, it will be by the end of this stream. But it is. I know it is. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, you can check out all our backlog there. There's a couple episodes that aren't posted yet, but will be in the next couple of days. We've had some tech issues on that, but we've managed to get all of those resolved. So thankfully, we will finally be able to get caught up, and we should hopefully never have that problem again. And as we get closer to Days of Tales 2, we will be uploading all of the games from Days of Tales 1 back in August. There were some absolutely phenomenal games in that rotation. It was great. It'll also give you an idea of what the event's going to look like, although I think we're a little better prepared for it this time, which is really, really exciting. But something to check out for sure in the coming days. If you're interested in keeping up with what we're doing, updates, and anything else, you can either join our Discord, where all of our information gets posted, check out our Ko-Fi, where we also put all our updates, and for more to-the-minute information, you can find us over on Twitter at TheLionKnight42, at least for now. And with that, I think I've said everything I need to say. So, I'm going to pass this around, and then we will get to tonight's episode of A Crumbling Foundation. Tonight, let's start with Zoe.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe Trooper. You can find me on here from from the Table Studios, playing in the STV game. I've been tripping over my words all night, so it's probably going to continue. But yes, you can find me here. You can find me on Hollowed Haven Studios, and you can also find me eventually on Component Cast. All of them are really great people. Check out their shows. And yeah, that's about it for me. You can find me on Twitter as @ZoeTrooper. So there's that.
The Eye.
I am the Eye. Tonight I am playing Lieutenant Liam MacCern, the beloved soldier who wants everybody else to just listen to him because he's right all the time and they just don't get it yet. But besides that, you can only find me here on Tales from the Table Studios playing DTA as Kunskapsoker, or here playing Lieutenant Liam MacCern, trying to keep everybody alive while the only person he can trust is no longer here for today. And that's going to be great. That's it.
Well, considering Tal is not with us tonight, unfortunately, Jack. Not unfortunately, yes. Jack. Unfortunately, Tal is not with us tonight. And Jack.
Sometimes I am unfortunate, but not tonight. Tonight, I am very fortunately here and very fortunately playing Hevard Hart, who last time melted a godlike flesh monster with his moxie. So if you want to see more of that, well, actually, you can't see more of that. You only get that here, because that's a Hart thing. But you can find me over on my own channel, twitch.tv/RPGs Uncovered, and the associated Twitter and Discord and all the other social medias. I run... Well, RPGs Uncovered, a series dedicated showing just how quick and easy it can be to learn a new TTRPG. We have on Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. EST, season 4 of that series featuring Cyber Rats. It's a fantastic game. We are coming up on episode 5, I think, at this point, and this Saturday's episode is going to be a whole thing. It's our second of 3 main big story missions, if you know anything about the system. It's going to be a big episode. We're assaulting a top secret facility built into the caldera of a volcano. So you can go check out the previous episodes of that over on YouTube, previous seasons of that, all kinds of Whip Workshop interviews, which I now do every Wednesday. Yeah, look up all that stuff. Hang out with me on Twitter. You'll learn more. JD, take it away.
Yeah, I'm JD. Tonight I will be playing Dr. Zachary Ryan. You can find me in RPGs Uncovered with Jack every Saturday. I am scared for this coming Saturday. We have death letters written. It's a little unfortunate. They might be used. Yeah, you can also find me with Live from the Apocalypse. I'm with them every other Tuesday and Sunday for Class Reunion and Academy H respectively. And a few things that I will maybe get to finally start announcing probably the next time we're all back together again. So I'll leave you with that teaser and hopefully an announcement then.
Super exciting. And with that...
yes. Lion, next Monday. We got something going on next Monday, don't we?
We do have something going on next Monday. I was going to talk about that on the outro, but I'm glad you bring it up because it's definitely worth... No, it's all good. It's worth calling out. Next Monday, we will not be here with the Crumbling Foundation as it is our week off, but we will be here with a very special episode of Dinosaur Wizards in Space. The first one should be up over on our YouTube actually right now, so you can go check that out. It is a lighthearted, fun, fantastic romp through space with exactly what it says on the tin, Dinosaur Wizards. Come check it out. It's going to be a great time if the first episode was anything to go off of.
Yeah, you better show up or I'm going to smash you.
All right. So the last time that we left our wonderful group of agents, things had gone a bit awry. Unfortunately, Dr. Von Brandt had some issues with, both of our nerds and Agent Hart had some issues with the strange shifting sands that they found on the beach when they arrived on the island, which immediately embraced them with strange flesh-like tendrils digging into them, leaving Lieutenant MacCern and Captain Kennedy to be forced to try and free them as they each experienced some strange delusion, perhaps, or something more. Meanwhile, Lieutenant MacCern was able to viciously, with a single shot, take out a strange shaped flesh being off in the metallic woods ahead of them. After saving the party from the sand of the beach and moving further in, they encountered something else strange. As Captain Kennedy removed what seemed like a potentially corrupted bit of Zura's leg, just a little bit, not enough to hinder mobility for now, Lieutenant MacCern and shortly after, Agent Hart came face to face with a strange, fleshy being that immediately upon being introduced by Hevard, decided that it would be Hevard Hart now, and seemed very interested and curious as to why you all were here, where you had come from, referring to the group of you as the Foundation, but also acknowledging that you couldn't possibly be the Foundation. There was a lot more said, things that perhaps we will cover again as we move forward, but by the end of that conversation, Agent Hart, reluctant to give up their place as the one true Hevard Hart, resulted in this strange fleshy being melting in shrieks of pain and fear into a strange liquid puddle. Now, before we get started tonight, the other thing that I would like to go over very quickly is that A Crumbling Foundation is in fact a horror game, and with that comes a couple of content warnings I like to go over. A Crumbling Foundation will feature ambient and atmospheric horror, body horror, self-mutilation, other mutilation, religious iconography, gaslighting, and anything else that we feel will come up at any point. We will try and provide in these warnings at the beginnings of episodes or after the breaks if we feel something might come up then. Always feel free and encouraged to step away, close the stream, remove yourself if you ever feel like it's getting uncomfortable or something you don't want to experience. I promise we won't be offended. In fact, we're always really happy that you put self-care first. Nothing is more important than your own mental and physical well-being, and this is no different. You can always come back for the next episode. We try and include content warnings when we put these up on YouTube, and we'll be adding little segments so that you can skip things that you are uncomfortable with. And we have a bunch of other series that you are welcome to check out. Not everything's for everyone, and that's okay. Never feel bad. We love you, and we want you to take care. Now, on to tonight's episode of A Crumbling Foundation. The group of you stand there, experiencing the echoes of the shrieks for help, the first time that this being echoed at all through this forest, as it reduces itself to a bubbling, steaming pile of wet flesh that seemingly just sits there. What does a group of you do?
I would love to roll to see if I could have any insight into what just happened.
Interesting. Okay, that seems like a valid reaction. Why don't we make a... there's no biology check. Anatomy will work. Let's do an anatomy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do an anatomy.
Yeah. Alternatively, you could, if you'd prefer, do a flat science roll.
Zura would
Let's
love to take
do
a
the
sample when the
Yeah, let's resolve this roll, and then I
Yeah.
have no issue with that. I think that's a wonderful.
Alright.
That is only going to be a 15.
Let's poke at the
You've
dead
never heard of
god with
anything
a
like this
stick.
before? Melting people is strange. Not even sure if this is a people. There was some divine suggestion throughout this. So yeah, I don't think you would be able to garner anything.
Would there be anything if I was looking at it more from like a religious mythological perspective? Because I did get that tidbit that this did seem like this is related to a fertility god in a
Okay.
pantheon.
All right, yeah. If you want, you can choose to roll with There is a religion check. Yes, it's also intelligence. Yeah, you can roll
Okay.
with religion.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. That's an 11.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to pick anything out, unfortunately. Maybe, I mean, fertility god of some sort, maybe, but beyond that, there's really nothing that comes to mind. What would the rest of you like to do? Zura, I know you said you wanted to do something.
Yes, I do want to take a sample. I imagine it's almost immediate. Like she just sees this thing melt and she has the little cork out and limps over towards the side just to kind of scrape in some.
Yeah, as long as no one is going to try and prevent this.
Is it dead?
Then
It seems more dead than after you shot it.
I can fix that. Liam starts going towards the C4.
I
Sure.
try to get a sample before the C4 hits.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Liam's going to have to take a little bit of time setting that up. You absolutely have the opportunity to take out a vial and, like, scoop a little bit of this in. It's sort of the consistency of just barely, like, heated Jello, like, when you're making the gelatin, and it's just a little bit...
It's like watery, but also kind of thick.
A little viscous, yeah.
Wow.
And you just kind of scoop that in. It seems to go in no problem as you like right the vial and it like slides its way down. You see it leaves like little streaks across the glass.
Liam's just gonna pick up the big bag of C4 and he's not gonna actually set it up, but he's gonna walk by the thing, take one last look at it before trying to move. Do we see the edge of the forest on the other side?
So actually, before you get to that, when you turn around to go grab from the bag of C4, I believe Jackson was the one carrying it, correct? Because he had taken it when...
No, I tossed him a C4.
Oh, you tossed him one. Okay, that's
Yes.
fine then. Well, when you go to root around in your bag, you notice something is off. You realize, as someone in your position, I assume you are always actively keeping a head count. And you realize very quickly that someone is missing, and it very clearly is Captain Kennedy, who seems to, in the strange happenings that pulled everyone's attention, have vanished.
Liam is going to look around a little bit. Has anyone seen Kennedy?
He was right here. Right, Zura? He was right here.
I believe so. He patched up my leg, or rather took something out of it. Helped me up.
Liam is going to make sure the bag is contained, put it over his shoulder. Do we see the edge of the forest from where we are?
So
Not towards the beach, but inwards.
Inwards. You can see where it seems to sort of peak into almost like a large hill. But you don't see beyond that. So you can't see where the woods breaks from here. No. But
So Liam at this point is in a position where he believes that they're in some sort of ambush situation.
Okay.
So Liam is going to arm himself with his assault rifle and turn to Hart and say, "Run now."
Where?
Away from the beach, inwards.
Where this thing came from?
Do you want to continue the mission or are we leaving?
Come on, nerds.
And what Liam is going to do is basically walk backwards with them at his back, making sure nothing is coming up from behind.
Okay. So the group of you are going to be moving towards that like hill area, the like incline.
If that's the direction Liam pointed, then Hart is fast walking in that direction.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow, but I'm also like wiggling the vial and going, oh, it contains a few lipids, looks like.
I would house that someplace as soundproof as you can get it.
Soundproof. I might have a box and I'll start digging through my supplies.
This entity, whatever it was, seemed rather focused on mimicking, impersonating, stealing identity.
Right.
And I'm not sure any one distinct section of that goo can be reasonably considered a sensory organ, so we might want to treat that little bit as enough.
Right. Okay.
I didn't know you thought so scientifically, Agent Hart.
I didn't know you all could talk so much while running this fast. Liam's like, at this point, like, I don't know who's in the back, but literally is pushing them forward.
It would be Zura, because Zura just had leg surgery on beach, like limping along.
So, Zura, you definitely have some kind of like soundproof container. Basic stuff that I feel like would come with any of the kits that you would bring with you. At the thought of sending you into somewhere like this. So yeah, you can house that easily enough, and the group of you move as quickly as you can. Well, in Zura's case, a bit quicker than you can, with some assistance from Lieutenant MacCern. Deeper into this fractal woods. And as you get further in, you realize that the echoes are softer around you and get quieter the further in you get. You can still hear them echoing off into the distance in every direction. But where before they started loud and just got louder as you went out, you get to a point as you approach this hilltop where it is almost a complete whisper. And it's only once it gets further away that it is amplified, strangely almost to the point of being completely surrounding.
Quick question. As we were leaving that spot, can Lieutenant MacCern put down a flare?
Like, do you want to light it, or are you just putting it there?
No, lighting a flare. Yeah, I'm just putting it on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have no issue sort of just jamming it into the ground and setting it off. And a plume of like reddish smoke begins to rise off of it. I will take a moment to remind you that the way things had worked out with Mr. Boat was that when you lit the flare, Mr. Boat would come back for you.
I thought, is that if we shot it up in the air?
Was that the way it was described? Am I just
that's the
forgetting
way
that?
I thought it was, is that you shot the flare into this, like a flare gun.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can make that distinction so that you have this opportunity. Like, I'm cool with that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you set the flare down, and as the group of you move, Liam, you can see the smoke sort of rising in the distance as you get further away, because you are facing that direction, right? You were facing back towards the beach. And at about the point where you reach the bottom of this hill, this curved incline, you begin to hear echoes of footsteps, crunching on leaves and twigs and other things that you would expect to find on the floor of this forest.
I was just about to ask about that, because these remind me of these trees. They're like metal, crystalline, sharp. What are they again?
So the trees are kind of like round, layered scales of metal that jut upwards, almost like evergreen trees, and except that the limbs that come off of them and the pieces that jut off of those are fractals that seem to create these complex patterns and continue to jet out into more of these complex patterns.
So the twigs and the leaves on the ground
are not metallic. Interesting.
Are like normal tree?
Yeah, what you would consider completely normal, like foliage and the like mulch dirt.
Cool.
Yeah, but you do begin to hear the like echo of footsteps. At first, it's easy to write off as echoes of your own movements. However, you all will notice relatively quickly that they are not in sync with the way that you are collectively moving. Probably, Zura, you might be the first to recognize it just because of the, amount of pattern recognition that you have. you would be the one to notice that it is missing that very distinct sound of someone who can't move at like a normal pace. You realize that the limping movements that you're doing are not matching up with the echoing sounds of these footsteps.
May I roll a perception awareness check to see if I can see? Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you keeping your eyes to the back of the group, or are you going to scan the entire area as you do this?
I would be generally keeping an eye out in the whole area, but
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to double check.
sorry.
All good.
16. 19.9.
Very nice. So you begin to scan through, and anytime that you stop somewhere, you start running into the same issue you were having earlier, where it becomes difficult to focus your eyes on any one space. Things begin to sort of shift and distort and pull your eyes up towards the trees, noticeably higher with each time you rest. But you do notice in pretty much every direction, well, to your left and to your right, at least, there is shadows of movement that seem to move from like the base of one tree to the next, and they're quick. You can kind of make out that they are humanoid, though it's difficult to say whether they are humanoid in the sense that the group of you are, or in whatever it was that you encountered before. And you can tell that there are at least 6 or 7 of them in total, just sort of shifting from one piece of cover to the next, keeping a good 35, 40 feet between themselves and the group of you. What would you like to do?
So I see humanoid figures. How far away are they from us? The
About
closest one?
35 to 40 feet.
Liam's going to raise his gun up, and not firing yet, but this only increases his suspicions that Kennedy was taken by somebody. So he's going to yell out, "Move faster! Contact!"
Lieutenant MacCern, wasn't the point of us being here to make contact?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to do that in the middle of the woods without having any way of protecting ourselves or having a position of which to do so.
Roger that, yes.
And we're moving to a hill, right?
Yes, you are at like the bottom of
That's a
this
better
hill.
defensible position than not being able to see 5 feet ahead of us in these woods.
The entity, where did it come from? Was there an organism that started, or did it erupt through the sand?
Are you asking me or Lieutenant MacCern?
All of them.
Okay.
I can ask the storyteller if none of them remember.
Fair.
There seems to be a lot of small creatures, if I remember correctly, right?
The thing beneath the sand?
Yeah.
It seemed to be a lot of tentacles that didn't come from any one particular spot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In Zura's brain, she's just trying to draw a connection between like can we make a buffer between us and the entities forming? They seem to be coming up through the sand, but they are still carbon-based life forms, I'm guessing. I don't know. It's hard to guess. But I don't know. Can I make like some sort of roll on what I can use to stop them from coming at us immediately?
Interesting. Okay, there are a couple of things you could potentially do. Are you looking for some kind of scientific solution to this based on the assumption that they're carbon-based? Or what is it that you're
Yeah, well, I have the vial. It is obviously like the grease coming down the sides is a lipid of some sort, right? So I'm assuming they come from like the same base stuff that we come from. Um, and my thought is just basically whatever method they're using to like move, it's like pattern recognition, right? Like how are they advancing? How can I disrupt this?
Okay, I'm not gonna make you roll on that. What I will tell you is, based on what you know, the assumptions that you're making for valid reasons, what you're coming to is pretty much you could most likely dissuade or disrupt them in the way you would if it was any like person doing the same. What you've seen of at least the one specimen you have interacted with, besides whatever it was on the beach, they seem to function for the most part as human beings do. They're built the same way. If Lieutenant MacCern's retelling of it is accurate, he managed to shoot one at some point, and it downed them. So that's probably the best you can get. Everything about the movements of these figures that Lieutenant MacCern is getting, and I assume relaying, would also suggest the same thing, that they move and act like any other humanoid would.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb then, and I'm just gonna shout out and just be like, "You're scaring and hurting us. Please, can you back off until we collect ourselves?"
Ooh. And collect ourselves starts as a whisper and then grows outward and outward and outward until it sounds like you are far away, surrounding this entire woods. And then you hear another crunch, and then an echo that seems to begin as a whisper and begin to get louder and louder and louder and louder. And by the time it is loud enough for the group of you to hear, it again sounds like you are just surrounded on every side by this voice, and it bellows, "Forward, forward, 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 forward."
Seems to want us to keep walking.
We're not walking, we're running.
I'm stumbling, but yes.
If you are not able to keep up with everyone else, you are on Liam's shoulder. Like,
Okay, well,
Liam is dragging you.
that's what we're doing then.
Wonderful, yeah. And you is there you let Liam just sort of pick you up, and are we doing like fireman's carry style? Like, how are you?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you pick Zura up fireman style, and you begin your ascent up this hill. As you do, you notice that the trees seem to break and become a lot less dense as you move forward. And you cease to hear the echoes of the crunching footsteps or anything else around you. Getting to the peak of this hill allows you to see beyond it. And what you see takes a moment to process. As a distinctly different setting than the woods that you are emerging from, you see what looks sort of like a metropolis, when you would see back in your more comfortable, familiar settings. Giant, sprawling buildings and busy streets filled with people from what you can see. However, the difference here that is immediately noticeable is that the buildings are all pink and fleshy and pulsing. Bits of bone jut out, creating what must be floors and layers. Some of them are a bit darker in pigmentation, and many of them rise far beyond where you stand now. But breaking up those bits of flesh are what seem like glass. There is muscle and sinew surrounding these glass panes that seem like windows. And from where you are, you can see movement beyond them. All of which seems to be similar to the friend that you met not too long ago, the former Hevard.
As soon as they get to the crest of the hill, Zura is being as carefully as a soldier would, which isn't that careful, plop Zura onto her butt and basically run to the edge of the crest and flop onto his stomach with his gun out towards where the creatures were coming from.
Behind you, back into the woods.
I'm not going to the woods. I'm getting to the edge of the crest of the hill and aiming downwards. Yes.
Okay. And you don't immediately see much movement at first, but after about 15 seconds, you do begin to see these figures emerging. However, they don't seem to be coming at you. They seem to be moving towards the city. And it becomes clear that almost all of them are very similar in how they are constructed in these same gender neutral nude flesh sculptures of human forms, except for one that seems to be very similar to yourself, actually, dressed in the same fatigues with the same Kevlar. However, theirs has the MTF logo, the standard MTF design on their Kevlar. And it is actually, I'm going to ask you to roll me a SCP lore roll plus int to see if you recognize this MTF design, because each of the MTF teams are different.
SCP lore and int A.
While you're making this roll, like Zura doesn't even complain when she's thrown to the ground, just like a little out, and then she immediately gets up, grabs her binoculars, and starts looking because there's science to be done. There's research. Who has time to dwell on pain?
Yeah. And I feel like Zach is just there, like taking notes as Zura reports back what she is seeing.
Science.
17, 18, 19, 20. 20.5.
20.5. Okay. With a 20.5, you do recognize this logo. It's a little difficult to see at first as they move beyond you, but you do get a good enough angle to make out that it is this sort of almost lagomorphic top half that curves into a pointed, like barbed tail. You recognize this as MTF Lambda 5, the White Rabbits. What you know of the White Rabbits is that they specialize in unstable, surreal, or otherwise manipulated reality situations, and are generally sent in to deal with containing dangerous people or objects that are capable of manipulating reality, time, and space. It is definitely an immediate oh shit sort of moment. They are not the sort of group that gets sent out on anything besides the incredibly important and dangerous.
Aim is going to stay completely still with his gun trained on these running figures until they are completely out of sight, plus another maybe 20, 25 seconds before standing up, turning to the others and going, well, that's not good.
In that time, Zura, with your binoculars, you're sort of just looking at the city ahead of you. A lot of what you see just mimics what you would expect to see in a normal Manhattan street. People just sort of walking to and fro from one place to another. Some people stopping and talking to each other along the way. Some of them are, again, most of them even, are those same sort of fleshy, nude, humanoid forms. But you do see a few who are dressed in perfectly, like, normal clothes, if not perhaps from different styles and fashion eras.
And they still
Oh yeah.
They have like the hollowed eyes with like the weird eyebrows, correct?
They do not actually.
Oh.
As you look at them more closely, you realize that they are indistinguishable from any of you. Hair, uh, in like deep facial features, eyes, teeth, the whole nine.
Okay. Another question, and this like feel free to like be like that's impossible. I'm looking for anyone that I know to have disappeared from the SCP Foundation. Like
Oh, that's very interesting. I'm gonna have you.
I'm basically looking for the people that have come here, got lost, so to speak.
I'm
Granted,
gonna,
I had no access to any of those files, so I wouldn't know.
that's okay. I'm gonna have you roll me a fate.
A fate. Oh goodness. I have lots of those now.
Yay. Luck is a stat.
Um, let me double check real
Sure.
quick. Okay. Let's roll. Would you believe that none of those exploded and I only rolled an 11?
Oh my goodness.
God damn.
Unfortunately, you do not recognize any of these
Darn it.
people as anyone who you had heard disappeared or would be able to otherwise connect
Mm-hmm.
to the people who have not returned from this island. At which point you hear Lieutenant MacCern.
I saw at least one member of an MTF, the White Rabbits. Now, what that tells me is that they've already sent some of the best here to deal with whatever issues are going on. And then they decided to send us.
And I think I would go as far as to say, Agent Hart, you've heard of this MTF before. You know the kind of serious shit that they get involved in. You've been lucky enough to never share a situation with them, but it hasn't changed the stories that you've heard. As for you, Dr. Ryan and Dr. Von Brandt, I leave it up to the two of you if you believe there's any reason you would be aware of these or not.
I like how the eggheads have universally decided, nah.
It was just,
We're
it was like
oblivious.
synchronous.
Well, I believe we were already operating under the assumption that this was something major.
Well,
I'm
if
not
this
a
is
big fan of sending 3 non-combatants into an area where an MTF has already failed.
There are many ways to deal with there are many ways to deal with the situation that have nothing to do with combatants.
I mean, we're all wonderful, and I don't mean to insult any of us, but we're not exactly the A, B, C, D team. We are a ragtag kind of group with only one mission under our belt. And there has to be more of a reason to it than just, oh, you may have experienced something similar in New York. Like, why are we here if better people are already here?
It may be that simple. What we've experienced in our previous mission may have simply been enough of a contaminant to warrant us going here with very little risk. From the Foundation standpoint, I would not be surprised if they consider us entirely expendable.
Do I still see the flare from where I am?
Yeah, I think from where you are, you would still be able to see some of the smoke coming off of it, yeah.
How far away is it?
I'd say you're about 60, 70 feet. More like 80. More like 80 feet. From where you are.
Liam's going to turn to the others and go, set up here, whatever outpost stuff you have. Hart, I believe you have some equipment you can start getting ready. I'm going to go back and see if I can see where Kennedy went.
So we ran that whole way and made it 80 feet. Does that seem unusual to us?
I mean, it would seem to be, yes. It's a very short distance to cover at the speed you were moving.
So now you want to go back that way on your own.
My job was to get you all in safe position, and now I must figure out why we lost one of our members.
I assume you don't want to stay and have a philosophical discussion about our differences on this matter.
Leah is going to kind of move a little closer to Hart and go, "Oh, I think like this is a great time to have a little discussion about philosophy. Go ahead, Hart. What would you like to say?"
I think that was impulsive. I think you are overly concerned with fear and danger and protection, all admirable qualities. But we know nothing about that situation. We left Kennedy. Sure, there's a flare there. You can make your way back all 80 feet of it, even though we were running for probably a good 10 minutes. And now you want to go back on your own. You, self-proclaimed, and probably rightly so, the best suited to protect any of us. You walk back into that forest, you might be just as lost as Kennedy. And then how safe are we sitting up here on this hill? I'm not sure there's any one place on this whole damn island that's going to fit your parameters of safe.
From this position, you'd be able to see anything coming towards you, especially if you are able to set up your drone. You're able to see any conflicts or immediate threats before they get anywhere close to you. I would assume as well that someone amongst you, mostly you, Hart, would be able to make sure that these two are in a hidden position. I can see a couple of places where that might be the case. My main concern right now is to try to see if we can salvage this entire debacle. But I could not do that while trying to keep track of the three of you in the woods when there was something moving closer to us.
I hate to be the one to ask this question, Lieutenant MacCern, but what do we do if you don't come back?
You shoot the flare, you get the fuck out.
If that's your wish.
Unless you all would like to just leave Kennedy where he may be.
I think we already left Kennedy wherever he may be.
Okay, this is going to sound a little bit out there, but it's possible we will find Kennedy again. In the form of assimilation, if that matters to you.
I can't say we were all entirely perceptive during that whole situation there, but I did not notice any signs of struggle. I didn't see any tracks moving about. I'm sure Kennedy, in his experience, would make it quite difficult to be taken unawares and without notification. Something is strange going on here, and we ran from it. We did not investigate at all. At this point, he could have walked away to take a leak, and we don't know, or he could be parading over in that city over there, getting turned into some flesh monster, and we have no means of knowing. And now you're going to walk off.
What is your suggestion, Hart?
At this point, I'm not sure I'm trying to make a suggestion. My suggestion should have been addressed 10 minutes ago before we ran. I just think at some point you're going to have to let go of this mentality that we are all babies that need your undisputed attention at all times, and trust us to be out here, not on our own, but together, relying on each other. We can rely on each other. and not have one singular point of protection that you think you are. Admirable as that is, and I'm not saying you're at fault in any major way, but we are more than just 3 useless tag-alongs for you and Kennedy to order about.
I've already had these discussions with Dr. Ryan and Dr. Zura. They are fully aware that I do not consider them the useless tag-alongs. They're not the ones I'm concerned about, Hart.
Well, that makes this decision all the more interesting.
I am not the leader here. If the other two, who I do trust, deem it a stupid idea for me to go off alone, and if they have their own ideas, I will listen to them.
I mean, again, just to put it out there, if you're saying that you don't trust Agent Hart and you're leaving me and Zura with him, that doesn't seem like the best decision. That seems like a decision that could get us killed. If
That is
that's where you're coming from.
quite logical.
But by all means, please, leave and let me work my hoodoo voodoo on these poor suspecting children.
I don't know if right now is the time to be splitting up. And I think with the populace, the people that supposedly went missing are still here, just out of contact. Maybe they'll know where we can find Hal. Or, I'm sorry, where they can find Kennedy.
Dr. Ryan, what is your idea? Do you agree with Dr. Zura?
I do. I think she makes an excellent point. I think there is the greatest likelihood that Kennedy has been assimilated, and we will be able to get some intel if we're down on the ground and figure out where to go next. I don't think it's wise to split up. I don't want us to be in a situation where we can't find each other and we're losing more and more. I think we are strongest together. We are here for a reason, and that is that each of us has a specific skill set. And those skill sets might not always make sense to each other, but that's why we're here.
Liam's mask is going to turn back towards the still rising smoke. And then back towards the other three. And just kind of walk past Hart and start setting up camp.
So what does that look like for you, Lieutenant MacCern, setting up camp?
He is setting up tents. I'm guessing they have. Were we told that there is no communication back and forth between here and back? Like there's no satellites. Yeah. There's no. Okay.
Yeah. No communication whatsoever.
Right. Probably setting up some sort of. Is there communication within the island? Like if we had walkie-talkies, would we be able to communicate?
According to the documents that you got, it's spotty at best. There are times where you will be able to get like a very basic walkie-talkie to function and be able to relay messages that way, but nothing above that level of technology works. Phones won't be able to communicate in any way. There's no sort of access to any kind of internet, intranet, or otherwise that is functional. Even things like Bluetooth connecting like a headset to something wouldn't be functional.
So small band rather than
correct. Okay. And even
so
then, spotty.
Would we have with us some sort of small band amplifier that would be able to increase our ability to use walkie-talkies?
You would probably have with
Or
you.
like a radio station that we could set up, like in a suitcase.
You could absolutely have that with you. Yeah, I think that's something that's reasonable to have asked for. Although you would have been told that there's no way to confirm whether or not it will be of any use because they have not gotten any information back when they've sent people out with them.
Right. And after the tent set up, after the communication hub is set up, Liam is actually starting to dig a trench.
Mhm.
Like this is as far as he's concerned, they need a position of which to be their quote HQ before they move on to anywhere else. So he's very to everyone else's to everyone else, it's very obvious that he's trying to keep his mind off of something.
Well, that's obviously going to take you quite some time. In the meantime, what would the rest of you like to do?
I assume if we try to reach Kennedy on our headsets, it doesn't work.
No.
Okay. Zura, would you be able to... I do have my radio, and I assume we have our laptops. Would you be able to look at the frequencies that may be around and see if there's anything resembling what we saw back at the
Yes.
apartment complex? I know you identified a specific frequency. There might be something like that going on here we could be aware of or use.
It's a good idea. My first thought was to set up a communications grid, as we are told that electronics work here, so might as well have that asset at least. And yeah, I would start working on that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
And I will take out my drone and do a little test fly just to make sure that it stays in the air and reports back.
So you take out your briefcase and you like pop it open. You take out the drone. But when you go to turn on the you had like a pad, right? That you used. I know you also had a pair of goggles.
Yeah, and I have like a VR headset, but I also have like just a pad.
Sure. So you like go to use the pad to get the basic like activation stuff done. And nothing seems to be responding. When you go to use inputs to control it, to try and get it to go up, to try and get the cameras working, none of it seems to be functional. And you get, after a moment or two, a signal not found error at the top of the screen.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Can you do me a favor and roll me a fate roll, please?
You want me to
we
roll
hate that,
fate?
Lion. We hate that.
Awesome.
That's up there with what is your cognitive resistance as one of my least favorite questions.
Yay!
I will take my 1d8. Tell you what that is. That's a 5.
It's a 5. All right. So you're fiddling with this thing for a bit, trying all the different settings, trying to find out if there's another way to connect. And you begin to go through the different like options for using like Bluetooth to pair it. And initially nothing
to be fair,
yes.
If its normal settings don't work, I'm not trying to do any workarounds.
Okay. That's fine. But when you initially go in to try and see the connection errors, maybe to like find out what the error code is and get more information, there's a moment where just for about a second a signal flat pops up, some kind of connection, but it's clearly not to the drone. You've never seen this series of numbers or letters before, and as it vanishes again, because it's only there for the briefest of seconds.
Is it long enough for me to control screenshot?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You
Cool.
can try to, but by the time you like get it, get the screenshot up, it seems to have vanished.
Sure.
But you do know that there's at least one or two letters in there that were not English letters. You can tell that they definitely share a familiarity with what you've seen before on the arch, but could not pick the letters out in your head.
All right.
Dr. Ryan.
I think, to be honest, what Dr. Ryan has mostly been doing is seeing whatever Liam needs and like jumping in. So if tents need to be set up, if anything like that needs to be done, I think he's been primarily focused on that because he knows that right now the mission, such as it is to set up a base camp. And he, I will say, is surprisingly good at that type of thing. If you're going to ask him to do like heavy physical labor, that's not going to work very well, but he does seem to know his way around setting up a tent and that type of thing, and is able to do that probably more expediently than you would expect. Because this isn't unfamiliar to him. I mean, he has been out on plenty of digs. He knows at least this part of the puzzle. He doesn't understand the guns and weapons and all of that, but he does know what needs to happen to set up a secure space that you can go back to.
During that time, Liam is not talking whatsoever. Very silent, almost deathly silent. And like as Dr. Ryan is helping, there might be a nod here and there, but like he has his mask fully on still. So his expression is completely hidden, but there's obviously something eating at him. And once the tents are all set up, he just starts digging a trench around the where the tents are.
Well, I have a question for you, but first we have a hydrate check, courtesy of Dell. Thank you, Dell. Cheers. Refreshing. So I have a question for you. How deep are you digging this trench, Lieutenant?
It's a firing trench, so pretty deep.
Okay. So you begin to dig as things are being set up and prepared. And as you get about 3 feet down, you hit something that's not soil or dirt or leaves or twigs. It's wet. It has the same consistency as the soil, almost. A bit less give. And as you pry it up from the ground, you can tell that it's fleshy, pulsing, and seems to be... looks almost like raw meat beyond the topmost layer. Like a raw steak, perhaps? That dripping, bloody, pink redness, red pinkness.
So is this like a layer of rock that is, once you hit 3 feet, it's just no matter where you're digging, that's where it is. That's what it is.
If you attempt to dig to the sides, you will find that to be true, yes.
Liam's just kind of gonna sit down for a second next to the hole that he just dug and look down at it. Before like his knees are drawn up, his hands covered in dirt just hanging over his knees. And after just staring at the hole for a minute, he just calls out, "Doctors."
Yeah.
Yes.
He just kind of motions to the hole.
Oh, I actually considered this might be the case.
That would track, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't love it, but it makes sense.
I take a sample.
You sure? You'll have to like reach pretty deep into the hole to get down to it, but you absolutely can if you'd like.
I was going to say Zach offers to do it for you because of your leg.
Oh, thank you, Zach. I appreciate it.
Similar, you're gonna get like a vial and scrape some off. Are you cutting some free? How would you like to take your sample?
Yeah, instruct me, Zura. What would you like Zach to do?
Before we go too far into this, I know at least one of you is going to make a face under that mask, but should we really be cutting into the island?
I mean, the island cut into me. It's only fair at this point.
Eye for an eye approach. Interesting from a scientist.
It
All
was
I'm
mostly
saying is cutting into a creature without its consent could be, at best, rude and at worst, highly dangerous.
well, I was going to suggest a scraping this time around. Usually non-invasive.
I'm just expressing my concern that this island is likely a living entity of some sort.
Do you think I should ask its permission?
I think you'd have better results talking to Mr. Boat. But I suppose it couldn't hurt. I think if we wanted to communicate, that giant pulsating flesh city over there probably has something to do with all of this. Like I said, I don't think there's a place on this whole damn island that is going to be safe.
Wait, is that how you view it? As a giant pulsating flesh city? Looks similar to New York to me.
If New York was made of muscle, am I the only one seeing this?
No, you're seeing that, but Zura's right. It does look like New York, just if New York was made of muscle.
I mean, for clarification, Lion, it is I live in New York. New York is my stomping ground. That is not a carbon copy in flesh form of New York. That is just a metropolis.
It is similar to some of the places you've seen in New York. I don't think you could say it's exactly the New York skyline, but
okay,
there are clear resemblances to specifically New York.
Okay, interesting. Cool.
So vote for scraping a sample, not scraping a sample. I'm good either way.
I mean, I think you're fine to explain what's happening. Or I can, if you like, while you take the sample. I can walk the island through it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I saw MacCern's head roll back at that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But yes, Zura will clear her throat, look at the island, say, to better understand you, we are going to take a sample. And by doing that, we're just going to scrape your skin a little bit. It might be uncomfortable, but we mean you no harm. Actually, Dr. Zachary Ryan is going to do that at my request.
Yeah, and I mean you no harm either.
Liam is silent at this point.
There is a moment of silence as as it just sort of lingers in the air, waiting for something to happen, maybe nothing. And after a few moments of this, you can see the exposed deeper parts of the flesh in the hole begin to shiver and twitch, like muscles spasming. And ligaments, tendons muscles begin to push their way out, rising upwards, rooting together, similar to a tree almost in shape, rising, filling this hole that Lieutenant MacCern has dug with a thick trunk, the top of which is a small tuft of what looks like hair and teeth as it rises, sort of pluming, opening and blooming as it does, pushing past the hole, raising above you, branches forcing their way outwards, also knit of more flesh and muscle and tendon to form these significantly less complex designs, much more akin to what you are used to seeing out in nature, however, with its own obvious twist. As it stops, one of the branches extends itself so that it is almost directly hanging above Dr. Ryan's head, and then a small
I'm
bead.
gonna interpose between that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If this thing wants a point of contact, that point of contact is me.
You see a bead begin to form at the end of that branch. It starts almost like a fleshy teardrop and then begins to expand similarly to a balloon. And as it does, you can see that the tip of the branch bends a bit downwards under the weight of this growing orb of meat, and then it stops.
How big are we talking? You said like big water balloon?
About the size of a palm, but round. And upon any quick inspection of it, it seems shaped almost like an apple.
Because I'm contractually obligated to, I'm going to take my shirt off and put it in my hand and just hold my hands underneath it as if I am anticipating accepting whatever this is and just see if it drops on its own.
Sure. And after a moment, there is this subtle sound of tearing. Something that perhaps if any of you have been at a butcher's and have heard or seen or any other situation where you would be in the proximity of flesh as it is being severed from itself, preferably from like a large portion of itself. There's this very distinct, unique sound that it makes as it separates, and you hear that, and the apple drops into your cupped palms.
I'm gonna wrap my shirt around that, tie it off, and hand it over to Dr. Ryan. I believe this is the sample you asked for.
Currently.
Thank you very much for your contribution to science.
I am going to turn back to this flesh tree thing sticking out of this maybe living island. Thank you for being so accommodating. And I'm going to reach in my pocket and just pull out a pen, a nice pen. It's not terribly sentimental to me, but it is a nice pen. I'm just going to pull it out. Someone else on this island said they expected a gift or a sacrifice. I don't know about gifts or sacrifice, but I do know about trade. I'm just going to take the pen. I'm just going to put it down on the ground in front of this thing. Take a step back.
And almost immediately, roots begin to push their way out of the center of this trunk and envelop the pen, pulling it into its form with a like wet squishing sound as it does. And you can see just the tip jutting out from the meaty trunk of this flesh tree.
Now, if that's not evidence of sentience and a willingness to communicate, I don't know what is.
I mean, it's remarkable, honestly. I hate it, but it's remarkable.
I agree.
I wish it didn't make as many of those sounds. I'm sure it's not its fault, but I do wish that.
Yeah, I was hungry earlier, but I'm not anymore.
You should still probably eat something.
Oh.
You passed out earlier. Trail mix.
Yeah. Okay. Then I kind of turn away from the meat tree, go back to my computer and like tunnel in on it.
Yes,
So
we are
as soon
very
as
much
Zura-
not going to consume any part of you island.
I mean, I would hope that would go without saying, but yeah, that's good that you reassured the island of that. Yeah.
While they were all dealing with that, when they turned back around, Liam had wandered off. Like, whatever you guys are doing, have fun. Um, and at this point is building a fire and had set up a pot for boiling MREs. And has 4 MRE packs out.
Absolutely. Easy enough for you to put together. The flesh tree does not react, nor does anything else around you. You do notice as the sun begins to set that if you look back over at this fleshy metropolis that resembles New York, the streets are significantly less busy. The large skyscrapers, less populated. Seems as though these people, whatever they may be, are heading home, leaving the streets. Not entirely. There are still figures coming to and fro over time. Besides that, lights seem to go out, leaving a lot of these earlier easy to look through windows now darkened. Static shadows and shapes discernible, but beyond that, not much. What the group of you like to do as darkness settles in?
Liam is very slowly eating his MRE, but also keeping his eye out for any approaching figures. This be the first time they've ever seen him eat. He's very deliberate, like he chews for a long time. His mask is sitting next to him on the ground. And just again being very quiet. His face at this point is almost emotionless. Maybe the social scientist can see that there's something deeply troubling him, but he is definitely trying to hide it.
And the rest of you?
I have a night vision camera I'd like to take out and see if it functions. And if it does, I'm just going to survey the area for a little bit.
Absolutely, it does function. And yeah, you're watching the city or the forest, or are you going to sort of?
We've been looking at the city for a while now, at least one of the 4 of us at most times.
Sure.
I'm not overly concerned with that, to be honest. I would start back in the direction of where we left Kennedy.
Sure. At this point, you notice only the barest wisps of smoke still rising, clearly the flare running out. You do, however, find it extremely difficult to focus in any one place at a time. It is awful and very quickly begins to give you a headache, your eyes straining, hurting, your focus drifting ever upwards towards these fractal trees. And as you spend more time looking at them, they seem familiar. More than that, they seem safe, comfortable. Something that so inherently stands out against the fleshy nightmares ahead of you. Something
I think
so clean and beautiful.
I think I asked this last time, but I don't remember.
Not a problem.
The fractal patterns on the trees, do they resemble the fractal patterns I saw on the music box?
They are, in fact, similar. I don't think you did ask last time.
I know I was thinking it, but I don't know if I actually had the chance to ask between tentacle monsters and flesh monsters and Liam.
Yeah. But absolutely they do. They are very reminiscent. And even with that information, even with that recognition, you know that should make you more wary. That it can't mean anything good. But it doesn't feel that way.
Do I still have that fire crackle in the back of my head?
Oh, yeah. Yes, you
do. With that actual realization and focusing on it, I'm going to break away from that and head back over to Zura.
You find that as you break away, you struggle with yourself for a moment to pull your attention from these things. These beautiful patterns. But you do.
Okay. Doctor, any luck on finding EM frequencies, similar EM frequencies?
I have everything set up now. I'm just, I need to start. Well, I was going to scan for Wi-Fi's that were similar to the people in New York. But yes, I also need to scan for the frequencies.
You specialize in pattern recognition.
Yes.
The trees here are a clear, non-organic, repetitive shape, right?
Well, actually, you find that repetition in nature as well. This is just amplified.
Do you think there could be any meaning in that? Or I suppose I should more accurately ask, do you think you could find meaning in that?
If I were to guess, I think the island is trying to mimic life as best as it can, given the substances it has available. Like how the sand is kind of metal and how the trees are metal. It's using minerals to get as close as they can possibly get. But that also doesn't make sense because there is the meat core. Oh, it sounds so gross to say. But yes, there is the underneath.
Well, we saw at the place beyond the archway that the entity we came in contact with before also followed this motif of meat meeting metal. I saw earlier when setting up my drone or attempting to similar Aramaic symbols, and the patterns of these trees look familiar. There's a clear connection here, but that being we spoke to previously alluded at disdain for the creature we came in contact with before. Said I was ruined for being so exposed to it.
Interesting. I'll be honest, I didn't get a good look into the through the gateway in New York because my passenger decided to block the camera for me. So I'm not sure what the denizens within the church really looked like. But from my understanding, different than the denizens here.
Have you seen Star Trek?
Yes.
They looked similar to Borg, but with less laser pointers.
Oh, that's completely different than the individuals here.
Yes.
So
This might be a literal turf war.
they seem to be going in reverse. The one in New York was digitizing people, and the one here is trying to be people, trying to be nature.
But what I'm getting
Hypothesis.
at with these fractals is, you would know more about this than I. Are not fractals they're a geometric representation of an equation, aren't they?
Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence, actually. You can find these sorts of patterns within snail shells, particularly. That's the best example of it.
So it might not mean anything consciously, it might not be a means of communication, but could it provide some better insight into the workings of this entity? Could you compare how that equation functions, equals out, compared
Sure.
to the frequencies we've seen before?
I can give that a go for sure. Lion, can I throw math at this?
You can certainly try.
Um. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I have a lot of intelligence. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm
I
gonna
think that's
start rolling now.
That's your main stat, no?
Yeah, it's my stat.
Since I had this idea pop into my head, I actually do have some points in mathematics as well, and I believe with an assist check I can add at least part of my proficiency to her, right?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
So if
you
I
would like
help out,
to-
I can give her a +1.
Sure. You will
Yeah.
you will essentially be back and forthing some of the Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you roll first and we'll see if you'll be adding your proficiency. Or actually
that
you
how
don't
that
have to
works?
roll, right? I think it's
I don't
just
think so. I think I
No,
just
yeah, you
can
just add it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
up to her proficiency, I can add whatever my proficiency is.
Yeah,
If I
correct.
remember correctly.
That
Yeah.
is it, yeah.
So I'm adding 1.1 to whatever you got going on, Zura.
Okay, so that would be a total of 4.7. I'm gonna roll my dice.
Yeah.
Add 1 explode.
Mm.
Add the D12 explode. Had the D20 roll a 19. All right,
Cool.
Nice.
this is amazing. So
Phenomenal.
31
Mhm.
plus 4.7, so 35.7.
Ooh.
I think that's the highest roll we've had so far.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna screenshot this for funsies.
Heck yeah. Question.
Uh-huh.
What's your cognitive resistance?
Oh dear God.
Knew that was
Uh,
coming.
16.9.
Interesting. All right, Zura. So, you set your eyes upon the fractal woods behind you, and similar to the rest, the more time that you spend, the more your attention is pulled towards them, and it almost feels as though you are literally zooming in on these patterns the longer you look.
Mhm.
The rest of you will notice that both Dr. Von Brandt and Agent Hart are slowly looking further upwards as time goes on, speaking back and forth to each other about a number of different bits of applied mathematics. You come to understand that there is patterns within the patterns, and much like you said, fractals are it's the Fibonacci spiral, right? That's how it works. And in how it is designed and how it curves on itself and builds into itself, you see small breaks in the pattern. The longer you look, they become easier for you to make out. The longer you look, the more you can recognize these symbols as being similar to the arches back in New York. The more you can make out that smell of brimstone and sulfur and oil, and there's so much here. You feel it on the tip of your tongue, just beyond the reach of your fingertips. It surrounds you, these complex equations, some of which are clearly not utilizing mathematics that you understand, and yet somehow you comprehend the basic premise of what they are trying to do. And in a way, it resembles for you the basic building blocks of genetic code. But it's wrong. Well, no. It's improved. Something about it feels less like a problem and more like a solution. It's beautiful, really. It's something you couldn't possibly have imagined. And then your phone goes off. It vibrates in your pocket. And
Yeah.
again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And you begin to hear the sound of your text alerts going off over and over and over and over and over again. It's up to you whether that's enough to break your attention from this.
Yeah, I look at my phone. I assume it's from my shadow friend, who is seemingly kind of jealous. And I look.
And when you open it, you see the same photo over and over and over in each one of these. It has to be 40, 50, 60 messages. All of the same photo of your friend standing behind you with one hand up like this. It doesn't look aggressive in any way. And that's all you see. And you find sort of a sadness as you realize so much of the comprehension that you had moments ago slips through your fingers like grains of sand, becoming more and more alien the longer you spend not focused on it. And all of the patterns and mathematics and knowledge within just falls away from you. But you remember that it's there. You know that it's there. You've seen it. You've tasted it now. It was beautiful. And that's where we're going to take our break. So we're going to step away for 15 minutes, go stretch our legs, get some water, use the bathroom, grab some snacks, do whatever we need to do. I suggest that y'all do the same out there, but we'll be back with more wonderful, delicious trauma in just a bit. Hope you've been enjoying so far, and we'll see you again soon. Hey everyone, we're back. Not going to spend too much time because we are a little bit behind, but hopefully you've had your chance to get what you need to get, do what you need to do, and are back because we're back and we're very, very excited to be here. So, when we left off, Zura, I believe you had just experienced the beauty that lies within these fractal trees.
Yeah. I have literally witnessed perfection in an algorithm, so I am still kind of like reeling from that. Like my brain is struggling to understand it. And meanwhile, I'm getting these messages from my friend SCP-1471, and I'm just overwhelmed. And I stand slowly from the chair, and I just basically turn around. Is there a tent set up? I think MacCern set up tents, right?
Yeah, and Dr. Ryan, the two of them set the tents up.
Yeah, I just retire to a tent without speaking to anyone.
Mhm.
Now, I shared in at least some of this revelation because I was helping out, right?
Yes. I don't think that you saw all of the same information, but you definitely were drawn in and did see something far beyond what you now are able to really hold on to. But there was a wealth of information that you knew was in some way life or life plus.
Okay. As she's walking away, I'm going to shout out. Not really shout, but address. Zura, you okay?
Yes. I How do I explain this? I imagine the feeling I'm feeling right now is the moment when the Sistine Chapel was finished. When the glory of everything coming together just sort of washed over everyone. It was a work of art.
Okay. Don't get lost in it.
Yeah, I'm trying not to. I need a moment to process.
Write something down real quick and then try focusing on something else.
I kind of
Just for a little bit. Make a
point
sandwich or something.
Yeah, I point at my phone and I go, I have questions for this one. And hopefully for once they can answer.
Good luck.
Thank
Let
you.
me know if I can be of help. I'm gonna stand up, brush the dirt off me. Where's my other nerd?
I want to traumatize that one next.
So I think Zach has been probably sitting not too far off from Liam, but also giving Liam a space because he clearly wants that. Just kind of lost in his own thoughts. I will say, well, Zura and Hev were both observing the beauty of nature and the perfection inherent in this place. Zach did go over to Liam and just leaned down and softly said, "Look, I can tell you have a lot on your mind. No pressure, but I'm not going to be sleeping much tonight, anyways. So if at any point you want to talk, come find me."
One of the great things about being a soldier as old as I am is finding sleep in the right places. I'm not sleeping tonight because I already got my sleep for the day. As for talking, I'm becoming more and more perturbed about your company's policies on humanity currently.
Would you like to expand on that?
Liam will nod towards where they saw the most likely assimilated white rabbit member, and then turn back to Dr. Ryan. He's unmasked still. Salt and pepper, or actually it's salt. What do you say it was? Salt and paprika hair. And beard. And he says, an organization that would send a force like that one. Do you know anything about the White Rabbits?
No, nothing except what you alluded to earlier.
Containment squad. Very, very experienced. Not anyone can get into that group. I had my run-ins with them in the past when I was a field agent for this GOC. Badasses. Even I'd admit it. And to see a member of them being affected in this way. And then the thought that the Foundation, most likely knowing exactly what happened here, let's not pretend that they wouldn't know exactly what happened here, would then send a group of 2 soldiers, a talking head, and 2 scientists into the same field. Doesn't fill me with a lot of, shall we say, confidence. And Liam will put his hand onto Dr. Ryan's and say, I'm going to make sure that all 3 of you get out of here alive if I can. But I need you to think really hard and deep about the people you're working for.
And Zach looks down at where Liam's hand is on his, and then looks back up at Liam and just nods and says, understood. I will. And I think goes to turn to leave, but then pauses and says, but why would they just send us in as cannon fodder?
My assumption is that they know that we have a chance of doing something they want us to do. Perhaps there is something to be said about the previous encounter that we all had. But in their minds, as far as I'm concerned, if we all die, they have more to send at any given point.
And you can see like Zach is struggling to wrap his head around this and just slowly says, I mean, that would be an expendability of human life and resources that I wouldn't have previously imagined.
Liam's head will cock at this. Does Liam know, like, Liam knows about D-class personnel, right?
Yeah.
Is everyone in the Foundation aware of D-class personnel? And how they're used?
I would say that, honestly, Dr. Ryan is probably the only one among this group who is not aware of D-class personnel or their usage in the Foundation.
Wow. Well, that's
And I think you can safely make
boy,
that assumption.
I think you need to sit down. I got some shit to How much do you know about the Foundation you work for?
I think the answer is clearly not enough.
What class personnel are you?
That's a great question. That would be a great thing for me to remember off the top of my head. I do not remember what I am.
I believe you are C class.
Secret.
That's what I thought. Yes. So C.
So bottom rung, basically, as far as you're concerned, yes?
I guess. Possibly.
Did you know that there's a class underneath you?
I did.
Do you know what they're used for?
I kind of figured that they were like, I don't know, interns.
There's a few moments of pause on that. And Liam is going to say, think less interns, more guinea pigs. Do I know where the Foundation gets D-class personnel?
Yeah, you would be aware.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me rephrase.
Okay, go ahead.
You would be aware of the more common places that they get their D-class personnel.
Prisons, psych wards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the normal stuff.
Yeah, normal stuff.
Yeah.
Liam will take a deep breath, kind of lean in. D-class personnel are gathered from across the world, usually from third world countries, second world countries, prisons, wards of different types, people that others would not miss, or people that were slated to die anyway. They're inducted into the SCP and used for literally anything the SCP Foundation could possibly think of. This includes effects of SCP on human beings. Even when the outcome is already known. If you catch my drift.
So even when it's clearly unnecessary, not that I'm saying it's right either way,
There's just a
But-
nod.
but for no purpose.
There's always the scientific argument that there is never no purpose for a test. I am not of that mind myself.
I see.
Would I know of any egregious, really bad examples of this? I mean, I have a couple off the top of my head, but I don't know if Liam would actually know of them.
So you
Like, does the GOC know about Big Lizard? I would assume they do. It's a pretty bad one, right?
it is. You have clearance for that. Yeah, I'll say so. Yes. I mean, you won't have clearance for any interaction, obviously. But yes, I think you would know if it's exists. Yeah.
So I would know the really bad tests they would have done on with that. What number was it?
I don't think you would know about their attempts to terminate it.
No, not that. The
Um,
tests that humans were sent in with.
Yes, that you absolutely would be aware of.
Okay,
yeah.
what number was this thing? I forgot.
The Never Die Lizard is oh, what number is it? I know this. So sorry.
Dell says 692.
692. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Del.
Thank you, Dell. I love you. Okay. So, just to be clear, so we don't have any bad continuity errors, there was one, and I think you would know this, Lion, the really, really bad one.
There were a couple that come to mind. You can,
Drug child.
yeah, you can, yeah, yeah.
Um, Thankfully, this is not the entire SCP, although sometimes I wonder if sometimes they just make decisions to save face, but still enjoy the fact that they got the information that was come from it. You're not cleared for any of this, so I need you to keep this as close to heart as
682.
682. Where was I? You're not cleared for any of this, so I need you to keep this close to heart, because I'm not sure exactly what the Foundation would do if you found out you knew about this. Do you know about SCP-682?
No.
Let's just picture in our mind's eye for a moment. Giant crocodile that can't die and has a very, very distinct hatred of every living thing on, well, anywhere. As far as I know, it doesn't really change its opinion on it when other creatures are introduced, but it has a particular hatred for human beings. A specific scientist, I don't remember his name, it doesn't really matter, decided to see exactly how far this hatred would go. And decided he would go down the line, different types of human beings. Not sure exactly how he got his hands on these two. But 2 children were sent into that cell with that thing. One completely awake, completely aware of everything that was going on. And that child was viciously taken apart and devoured. The scientist wasn't done, though. And the SCP Foundation can go back and forth about whether or not anyone actually figured out what he was doing. But it had to take some time to procure another child, because that's what he did. This child he drugged and threw into the cage as well. Didn't fare much better than the first. The Foundation did, I will admit, give the doctor his own taste of his own medicine. He threw in with SCP-682 as well. But, like a foundation like yours, it's very hard for me to think that no one knew what was happening. This is the foundation that I find myself with you all, and why I'm so troubled by people like Hart. He reminds me of people who are a little bit more interested in gaining information than actually saving human lives.
Why do you work with the Foundation?
Orders, to be completely fair. I do see some value having someone like me's eyes on the entire or some of the situation. At least there needs to be some free flow of information between my organization and yours. And if I can change some of your minds about the mission that you're here doing, I'd find myself in a position where I'd be a little bit more accepting of my new position.
I want to say that as Liam has gone on, I mean, first of all, it's not hard to tell how disturbed Dr. Ryan is to be getting this information. But I think because Liam would be looking for this to an extent and therefore attuned to it, as you're talking and you keep bringing up the words your organization, you notice Zach flinches each time you say that, a little more each time. Well, thank you for giving me the information that no one else seemed fit to when I was brought on board.
It's not something I like to share with absolutely everyone. And Liam probably was sitting on the ground or on a stump or something and stands up and pats Ryan on the shoulder and lets out a sigh. And under his breath will say, and if I get back, I'm gonna look into that thing you told me. And then he walks towards the edge of the hill on he'd probably take position on probably the highest point he could so he could overlook and just kind of put his guns on the ground so they're easily grabbed, and just sits there and just is obviously taking watch at that point.
I will say before Liam walks away, like as he leans in to say that to Zach, Zach does say, I don't know if now is the right time, but when whatever was in the sand had me, I saw something about what had happened. I don't know if it was a memory, but it was more than I'd seen at any other point in my recollections before. So if any of that information might be helpful, just know that I have it.
I think that in the morning, after everyone's rested, we'll sit down, go over the events of today, debrief a bit before we move on.
Yeah, understood.
Sorry.
Get some sleep, Dr. Ryan.
That's not going to happen, but I'll take that under advisement.
Agent Hart, what have you been getting up
Well, seeing that Zach was seemingly in an important discussion with MacCern, I'm gonna leave them to it. I'm not gonna butt into conversations. Zura went off to go do her own thing. I think Hev's just gonna do his evening yoga and hang out.
You would do yoga. Jesus Christ.
It's good for the core.
Uh-huh.
All right. Dr. Von Brandt, you sit in your tent. Doing what?
I'm part looking at my phone and part just kind of waiting to see if SCP-1471 shows up. If they do not show up, I send them a message, like in response to the image they posted me 60 times. And I just say, why don't you want me to see these things?
After a moment, you see out of the corner of your eye a shadow move outside of your tent. Glancing over, it is clear who this is based on the shape, the outlined shadow. And slowly you see a hand rise in the shadow off to the side. and the second hand come underneath it and push upwards like that. And again, and again.
Growth? Explosion?
And again. And then it sort of just trails away.
I follow it. All of them.
You exit your tent, and you look out in the direction, and it seems that you can still see just the toppest part of their head as they head sort of, or as they stand rather, down beyond the hill, looking out at the metropolis. And in the city, standing maybe 40 feet away, someone seems to stop. One of the clothed figures. And looks not at you, but at them. Turns their head a bit. And you can see their mouth move, but are far too far away to make out what's being said. And then they turn and proceed to continue wherever it was that they were heading. And that is where we're going to wrap up for tonight. Thank you so much to our amazing cast. Y'all are absolutely amazing. Thank you to our incredible chat. We're going to take a minute and go around and let everyone remind you who they are and where you can find them and what they're getting up to. So, JD, why don't you start us off?
Yes, hi, I am JD. I have been Dr. Zachary Ryan. For this week, you can find me next Saturday with RPGs Uncovered for the next session of Cyber Rats. And then on Sunday, I'll be with the Lost Caravan for our next session of Nova. Otherwise, I'm with Live from the Apocalypse every other Tuesday and Sunday, recording Class Reunion and Academy H respectively. And I think that is it for now. I'm going to toss it down to Jack.
Yes, hello, that is me. I have been and will continue to be Hevard Hart. Absolute blast day. It always is, but tonight was a fantastic show, and I'm always left wanting more. Yeah, you can find me on my own channel, twitch.tv/RPGs Uncovered, and the associated YouTube page, and all of the social medias, most places, whether I'm active there or not. Come hang out. I do cool things. Saturdays, as JD said, Cyber Rats, our demo play mini series explaining how to play the game while going through a thrilling little adventure, and it's super fun. We got a big mission coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. EST. On Wednesday, I have a Whip Workshop creator interview. This one is at 8 p.m. EST. That's going to be with Renee Pierre, who is working on Stoneburner, which is an absolutely fantastic looking game of dwarves mining asteroids in space, and it looks amazing. So come hang out. We had our two previous Whip Workshop interviews that were fantastic, Color My Quest and Vault. You can find those on YouTube. You can find all of my previous one-shots and seasons of RPGs Uncovered on there, and come hang out on our Discord. I believe since Tal isn't here, we're going to skip that spot, and I can throw it over to the Eye.
Thank you very much, Jack. I am the Eye, the ever omniscient and ever knowing. Here playing games to enjoy and entertain all of these. I am only found here, as said in the chat, nowhere else until others are given the summoning ritual by Lion to bring me upon them. Thank you all for watching. I will continue to try to convert the rest of these fine people to the GOC and their much better ways because they actually give a shit.
Seems like it's going well.
I got 2 so far. 2 out of 4 ain't bad.
Zoe.
Yeah, I guess it would be my turn. Shame on you for preventing me from chasing my shadowy friend into the city for like 2 weeks. I have 2 weeks to make this decision now. No, I had a lot of fun tonight. Can't wait for when we pick this up again. You can find me on Twitter as at Zoe Trooper. You can find me hanging out here. You can find me at Hollowed Haven Studios, and you can find me eventually at Component Cast.
And I'm Lion. I am the head for Tales from the Table Studios. You can find me on Twitter at the LionKnight42, which is also incidentally where you can find all of the updates for Tales from the Table Studios. You can also find that on our Discord because we have one of those. So you should go check that out. It's the best place to get updates, information, and more. We cast from our Discord as well, and we've got some amazing people, including all of these incredible folks here, who are always up for having great conversations about anything and everything. It's a wonderful growing community. You should definitely check it out. Also, we will be back tomorrow with a new episode of The World Ended Today, a 3-part mini-series currently being run by Justino, who you can find on Twitter at Justino Revolution, which is a phenomenal game about what happened if you just woke up and the world had ended. It's been quite an interesting experience so far, and it's only going to get more intense. Definitely check that out. Then on Wednesday, you won't find me here, but, and I'm really excited for this, you will be able to find me over with Damn Good Games on Twitch, where we'll be talking about first Days of Tales 2, and then we'll be sitting down along with Bjork the Bard to discuss a game that he has coming out, or a module that he has coming out for 5th edition, and talking about heavy story-based games and story-driven narratives and rules-light systems. I'm really excited for that. And also, because I've already brought it up, Days of Tales 2, we're still accepting people for the casting for the next couple of days until next Monday. The link is in the chat if you're interested in signing up for that. We've got a lot of people who have joined us. We're always looking for more. We're looking for people who are interested in doing panels, running games, playing in games, being a part of our giveaways, or anything else that you are interested in offering as support. We are more than happy to take those casting calls, reach out, and figure out ways to make it work, because we want to provide as many opportunities for everyone to join us as we work to raise money and support NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Fantastic organization that does great work, and we want to be able to give them some love. So you can check that out there. There'll be more information about that over the coming weeks over on Twitter and on Discord and everywhere else that you can find us, including here on Twitch. So stick around, keep your eyes open for that. With that said, I think I've gone over pretty much everything I have to go over for tonight. So we're going to disappear. You're going to see our schedule pop up, but don't go anywhere, because we're going to be raiding Talking XP, who I believe are playing in Ravenloft tonight. That's really awesome. Always love some Ravenloft play. So, until next time, take care of yourself, love yourself, and always remember to tell your tales. Have a great night.